So in this part of the web programming tutorial, I will give an overview of web development framework. I will, this part, focus on server-side or back-end web development frameworks. Some of the most used server-side or back-end web development frameworks are PHP, ASP.NET Core, Ruby on Rails, Django, etc. I will only briefly go through some of these in this tutorial. I will not go in depth or show any examples or something, but briefly go through some of these web frameworks. So what is a server-side web development framework? It is used to generate dynamic web page contents before the page is sent to the user's web browser. With the dynamic, we mean typically that the web page or application is dynamically changed based on data in a database, etc. So here you see an illustration of how it works. So on the client side or the front end side, we sit here with our web browser, we enter an URL, and then we send a request to the web server. And then on the web server, there are some server-side or back-end web development frameworks like PHP, ASP.NET Core, Django, etc. As mentioned. And those typically communicate with a database, with a backend database. It could be MySQL, SQL Server, etc. in order to retrieve or insert data into that database. And then the web server or one of these web development frameworks create a response and send it back to the web server, where the results are presented inside your web browser. And here on the client side, you use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, etc. While on the server side, you use these web development frameworks like PHP, ASP.NET Core, Django, etc. So let's start with PHP. So PHP is a server scripting language for making dynamic and interactive web pages. As mentioned, PHP scripts are executed on the server or the web server here on the server side or backend part of the web, like this. PHP files have extensions .php and are typically a mix of PHP, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. PHP is free and open source, and you can also typically easily include or use PHP in combination with the database like MySQL. So basically you can easily use PHP to communicate with a database like MySQL for reading, updating, or deleting or inserting data, and then present that data as part of the web page. We have something called LAMP, which is very popular. Then it's a combination of Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP. This combination has been very popular because all these are open source and free to use. You have the Linux operating system, you have the Apache web server, you have the MySQL database and PHP, and all these are open source and free to use. And also PHP is widely used and probably still one of the most used or popular languages for web programming or web development today. And PHP is quite easy to learn, and but still it's very powerful. So PHP is a good choice if you want to create advanced web applications. So here you see a basic example, and here you see here we have pure HTML code, and here we see we have some PHP code, because PHP code need to be put into this start tag question mark PHP and end tag question mark like this, and all code between the start tag and end tag is PHP code. So here I basically have defined a variable. You need to use this $sign in order to define variables, but you don't need to define data type or anything. It's automatically interrupted by the compiler. So basically you just use $sign and the name of the variable, and then you assign the variable, and then you can use the variable here. Typically you use the echo command in order to show the value or print text, etc. on the screen like this. So here you see the result. So then hello world is just this header, and then here echo hello, my name is Hans Petter Halvorsson. So this is a combination of pure text and variables like this. But basically just blend in the PHP as part of the HTML code. So let's create a simple example like this. So in a previous part of this tutorial we have just created some HTML code. So let's just open this example in Visual Studio Code, index.html. It's pure HTML code where we have the HTML start and stop, etc. And the first thing we need to do is to change this to a PHP file, is to change the file extension. So then just close this. I start by just making a copy, and instead of index.html, I'll just call it index.php like this. Yes. And then you see it changes to the symbol with a small elephant, and the elephant is this a logo for the PHP programming language. So then I can just either right click and open with Visual Studio, or I can just double click on it and it will open by default in my Visual Studio Code editor like this. So now basically I have changed the name to index.php. It's still just pure HTML code here, but now let's see how we can include some PHP code. So then here I can just wherever I like in the HTML code I can use this PHP tag like this and the PHP end tag like this, and in between here I can write whatever I like, and it's pure PHP code. So then here I can start by creating a variable. Then I use this $sign. Then I can specify my name like this. And also here I need to have a semicolon. Then so now I define a variable called called name, and then I have assigned this value to this variable. Then I can use this echo command to present the value from the variable. So then just echo, and then I can say something like this. Now I can basically remove that part. Hello, my name is something, and then I can just blend in the variable here using this $sign, name like this. So then here it will be a combination of text and this variable. So let's just save it. And now in order to execute this one, I need to upload this code to a server that has PHP installed. Or of course you can also install a local PHP server on your computer, but I have here an external web server that has PHP installed. So then basically I now just need to upload that PHP file to that server, and then in order to do that typically we use an FTP program. Here I have an FTP program called WinSCP, and here on the left side I have the local files, and on the right side I have the servers that are located on the server. So by now if I just enter this URL for my web server, you see now only this index.html is popping up here, which is a pure HTML. But now if I just delete that one from the server, click refresh here now, so you see now there is no files on the web server, but then I now just upload this index.php instead, and just click refresh, and then you see this PHP code has been executed. which you see here in the background, and this will be the result. So hello world, hello, my name is Hans Petter, and this is defined in this variable that we have created here. I guess you can create as many PHP script tags as you like in your code. So basically I can also have a PHP tag here on top like this. So here, assuming I want to have just define the variable here like this. So here on top I have a PHP script that just define this variable, and then I can just remove it here, and then here I just use the variable like this. Now I can upload this new version of the code, and I guess you will see no difference, but now I have just made two script blocks, one here where I just define the variable, and I have another one here where I'm using the variable. So you can create as many PHP blocks that you want and blend it in as part of the HTML code like this. So that was a brief overview of PHP. Let's dig into the next web development framework. And the next I want to introduce is ASP.NET with Razor. So ASP.NET is a framework for web development, and ASP.NET is based on the .NET platform from Microsoft, and you can use the C# programming language. And typically, if you use ASP.NET with Razor, the code and the layout are separated into two different files. You have the layout file that has the extension .cshtml, and then you have the code behind file that has the extension .cshtml.cs, where CS is short for C#. So this means that this file contains pure C# code, while this layout file is a combination of HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and this Razor code. In order to learn more about ASP.NET, you can go to their homepage. I have also created different tutorials for ASP.NET Core with Razor, but I will also give a short introduction how you can create an ASP.NET Core with Razor application using Visual Studio. So then I have opened my Visual Studio. Then here on the right side, just select create a new project. And then all these templates pops up for creating all sorts of applications using Visual Studio. And you basically just search for ASP.NET. And then you have lots of different templates that you can use for create different types of ASP.NET applications. But in order to create a ASP.NET Core application using these Razor pages, you select this template, ASP.NET Core Web App using Razor pages. I'll just select that one, click next, and then you need to specify a proper name for it. I can just call it web application and just specify a location for it. Just created a temporary folder where I want to save my application like this. Click next. And here you have different options. Typically you need to specify which framework you want to use. The latest now when creating this tutorial is .NET 9. You can also choose if you want to use HTTPS or not. But basically just leave the default, click create in order to create an ASP.NET Core web application using this Razor pages syntax. So now Visual Studio is opening, and basically it has created the start point for your own web application using ASP.NET Core with Razor pages. It has created different folders, etc. But basically now you can just click here on the run button in order to start that application. Typically it takes a couple of seconds. Yeah, I guess it didn't like this word web application. I just changed it to my web application. Of course you should use a better name that describe your application, but no, the project for this web application has been created, and now I can just start it by clicking this button. And then this application will pop up in my default web browser like this. Basically, this is a starting point for creating your own ASP.NET Core web application using this Razor. So then you have a header here where you can include or create additional files, etc. And clicking home, you have this startup page. And this startup page is found here under pages. So typically here under pages, you create your web pages. And this default one is this index.cs HTML. And then you see if I click on this small arrow, it has this code behind file, which is called index.cs HTML.cs. So then index.cs HTML, this is the basically the HTML web page where you include some Razor code. And this code behind file, which you find here by just double click on it, is basically pure C# code. So let's just see how we can update this one by using some Razor syntax. So then we have this this header one here saying welcome. I can change it to hello world or something. Let's create a simple hello world application. And then here I can specify inside a paragraph, my name is Hans-Peter Halvorsen or something like this. And now I can run it. And then it has changed here to hello world, my name is Hans-Peter Halvorsen. I can also show how to include some Razor syntax. Then here I can start by defining a variable, because Razor syntax is just like PHP. You need to have a start tag like this, and here you use this @ sign. So this is the start tag and this is the end tag, and in between here it's a Razor code. Then I can start by defining a variable like this, string, and basically this Razor code is more or less C# code. So then I can define string name equals to Hans-Peter like this. And then instead of hard coding my name here, I can just use this variable here. So then I just use this @ sign like this, and then specify the name of the variable, which is just name in this case, like this. So now let's see what's happening now. So now the result is the same. Like this. But also here, if I now change my name here now, I can just change it to Elvis Presley or something like this. And then if I go now to the web page, just click refresh, or I typically need to select this one. Hot to reload, and then you see right, typically I can stop it here and just run it once more, and then you see it has been changed to Elvis Presley like this. So that's basic ASP.NET Core web application using this Razor syntax. And basically the Razor pages, which we define here under pages, contains of two files. One file with the CS HTML extension, which is a combination of HTML. Here you can also blend in CSS, JavaScript, etc. of course. And of course this Razor syntax where I'm using here and also here. And then you have this code behind file where you can create pure C# code in order to, for instance, get data from a database, etc. So far I have briefly presented PHP and ASP.NET Core with the Razor syntax. So which of those should you choose? I guess it's up to you, of course, and there are also many other alternatives that you can use. But basically PHP is open source and free to use. With ASP you are locked and forced with the Microsoft technology and tools, because ASP.NET Core is created and developed by Microsoft, and also Microsoft or Visual Studio, C#, etc. also part of Microsoft tools. PHP works on various platforms and support most web servers. And basically, so PHP is cross-platform. You can install PHP on Linux, Mac, Windows, etc. But basically, ASP is .NET and Microsoft technology, and it typically only works on Windows. I guess also ASP.NET Core can have a steeper learning curve for beginners than PHP. PHP is embedded within the HTML code, and it makes start creating such web applications quite easy. And you can also host PHP applications in many different places, because there either you can install your own web server, but you can also use lots of existing providers that provide web hosting for PHP pages. And ASP.NET is based on the C# programming language and the .NET and the Visual Studio. And if you already know and use Visual Studio and .NET and C#, I guess there's a short way to start using the ASP.NET Core web development framework. So we have so far given an overview of two different types of server-side web development frameworks, namely PHP. And PHP is both a web development framework and a programming language. And then we have the ASP.NET Core framework from Microsoft, where we use the C# programming language. But there are also other options. Another option is to use Python. And Python has become a very popular programming language in the last 10 years. And probably it is today one of the most used programming language in the world. And also, if you prefer Python, there also exist different Python frameworks for creating server-side web development applications. One of the two most popular are Django and Flask. Django is a back-end server-side web development framework, and also Django is free to use, just like Python. It's open source and written in Python. Django is using a so-called model view template pattern. I will not give a detailed overview of Django here in this tutorial, but there exist lots of tutorials, examples, etc. on internet, YouTube, etc. And you can also start by visiting their homepage. And also V3 School has an excellent tutorial where you get started with this Django web development framework. While Flask is another Python web development framework. I guess Flask is a micro web development framework written in Python. Typically you use it for small, lightweight web application. And typically if you want to implement some web functionality on a Raspberry Pi, etc., Flask is a good alternative. You will find more about Flask at their homepage. So that was a short overview of some web development frameworks that you use on the server side or the back end. Some examples are PHP, ASP.NET Core, and this Django. PHP, here it's both a web development framework and a programming language. ASP.NET Core is a web development framework from Microsoft where you use the C# programming language, while the Django web development framework uses Python as programming language.